Inter fans from all over the world, welcome to the Interglobe. I'm happy to talk about another win, the second one, Inter-Spezia 2-1. It was a fantastic game, but before getting into it, just one thought about Pinzolo, where I am at the moment. We had during this summer Bologna coming here for the pre-season training with freaking Sansone as well. And we had Parma, so we saw Buffon around here. By the way, we also had the basketball Italian national team, so Pozzecco was here in the Palazzetto of Carisolo training. And last but not least, we have the Juventus camp, so hundreds of young kids of all ages wearing a Juventus shirt, going around all over the place. So between Bologna with Sansone, Parma with Buffon, and Juventus camp is not exactly the best environment. But anyway, and another thought was about Casadei. We were talking last time and saying how in the end, for sustainability's sake, it's a good move. We also have to remember that these young players are bets. It's like buying a lottery ticket because the Primavera, the youth championship, is comparable to Serie C, which is like third, fourth division. And so, if you bet on a player, not always these players blossom. And we have examples in our own Inter of young kids that were considered super talented and that basically didn't do much. We're talking about Acquafresca, we're talking about Pinamonti, Satriano, Esposito, in the past Bonazzoli. So, I would say that in order to participate to this lottery, you really have to have a lot of money in your pocket. Otherwise, it's really risky. Anyway, let's see what Casadei will do. I wish all the best for him, of course, because he's an Inter at heart man. Okay, coming to the game, Inter-Spezia 2-1. In the previous video, I talked about two men that could have changed the game. One was Cialanoglu and one was Lauti'S, so respect. It's all luck, I just try. And so this time it was good, but I'm sure that for many more to come, I will not guess the right players who will make a difference in the game. Anyway, let's talk about players singularly, because the game in itself, honestly, was a monologue, was like a solo. Inter played really well against a team that wasn't weak, because they had won in Coppa Italia and they also had won the first game of the season of Serie A. So, despite the fact that they looked a bit out of shape, probably that's a merit that goes to Inter players because they played really well. So let's start with the singular players, and I have here a few notes because I wanted to also talk about some plays, specific plays that each of these players made in order to justify why I think they played well or not. So, Handanovic, basically he didn't participate to the game. He was standing there, he didn't have to save not even one time our goal. But I think he nevertheless played a positive game because he's very, very reliable in ball management. He really was able to start Inter's plays in ways that were not always expected. Many times he seems like he wants to give the ball on the left, but then it comes back to the right. And this simple movement changes the movements of all players on the pitch. And, so it's pretty decisive if he does it properly. So good game by Handanovic. Defense, let's start with De Vrij. He is kind of regaining confidence after a season that wasn't honestly up to his level. We all remember, unfortunately, the derby and what Giroud, old man, was capable of doing in terms of agility against De Vrij, so that's not acceptable. But let's also remember that 2 years ago he was the best player of the defense in the whole season among all teams in Serie A, so he's definitely a valuable man, and he's only 30, so he's not at the end of his career. So I'm confident that he will indeed regain all his confidence. And if we look at yesterday's game, there was only one time in which he gave that ball back to Handanovic, not in a good way. It was very strong ball, and Handanovic had to put it in corner kick. So But apart from that, good personality. Skriniar also very good game. He has to still metabolize the situation with PSG, because I'm sure that for every human being it's something pretty tough to swallow when you are contended by different teams. I mean, your life basically can change from one day to the other. You can change city, country, friends, so it's a pretty tough moment psychologically. Now that finally he has been confirmed, thank you, Zhang, we will wait for him, because he's getting into shape, but also he's kind of letting go of this psychological burden that I'm sure had an influence on him during this summer. Bastoni, very good game, maybe a little bit less precise defensively, but amazing in terms of construction. He crossed that fantastic ball that Romelu hit on the crossbar, and apart from that he made many good plays with Di Marco. There's a good relationship between him and Di Marco, I think, on the pitch. They get each other, they understand each other, and I was very happy about the left wing yesterday. So defense, everyone pretty much good. Midfield wise, Çalhanoğlu still growing, still getting better and better game after game, but he was able to score that nice goal, and he was very good, more than in construction, in defense. I have in my memory this play that he did yesterday. He was basically substituting De Vrij in defense, and he actually stopped the ball in a very important and crucial situation. And so Çalhanoğlu is good when he has to defend, is good when he has to attack. Maybe yesterday not as good as usual. And he also is very valuable when he crosses the ball. So corner kicks are always very dangerous. So Chala, respect, very good. Barella, let's call him four lungs. What do you say? He's just amazing. He's incredible. You know, from the first to the last minute, running around. There's an Italian blogger that I like very much who calls him Speedy Pizza Barella, because he's like those delivery guys that are always on the go and always bouncing from one place to the other. And so Barella was really very good, and not only quantity but incredible quality. The first cross that he made for Lukaku, who then gave it to Lautaro, who scored, is a precious ball, really. So probably the best player on the pitch for Inter, together with Romelu. Very good, Barella. Brozovic, yesterday he was pretty ordinary in what he did, but everything that he did ordinarily, he did it well. So he was like the metronome, the usual metronome of our midfield, and even though he didn't do anything wow or spectacular, he was very good in the substance of what he did. So, vamo Brazo! Then we have the Lula. They were amazing. They were amazing. I have to say that Lautaro scored a goal that's a masterpiece. That goal is a freaking masterpiece. When it's about coordination, when it's about instinct, when it's about choosing not with your brain but with your reflexes, then Lauti is probably one of the strongest in the world. He's really amazing. He's a bit weaker when it comes to, you know, having to think about the play to make and then accomplishing it. But when it comes to instinct, he's just incredible. So great goal, and still room to grow, I think, both for him and for the way that they understand each other with Roma and friends. Romelu was amazing. Okay, didn't score, but you know, in the first goal he made such a lovely assist to Lauti, because it wasn't easy at all, you know, from a man of his size in that situation. He had to basically hit the ball with his head and hit it backwards, because Lauti was behind him, and he did it in such a great way. This is the first goal. Then he hit the crossbar. Then on the second goal, I mean, he was like the Incredible Hulk. He was amazing. 4/5 defenders around him. Can you imagine what that means for everyone else in the team? The freedom that it gives to everyone else. And he managed to handle the ball properly, and with a bit of luck it went to Chala, and then he scored. But Romelu was really indispensable yesterday, and even in a way of playing that's different from Conte, which was a bit more staying backwards and then using his speed. But even yesterday, when we had a game in which we were dominating and we were all forward, even in those spaces, he is really such a fantastic player to have back. Die, Big Rom. And then let's talk a bit about the substitutions. Aslani did this elastico, we call it in Italian. I don't know how it is in English. Okay, it didn't go well in the end, but wow, what a personality under the boys, under the Inter supporters. He did this, and then he did one pass to Dumfries that for me was like poetry, really. So in just 5-10 minutes, I saw a couple of really promising plays by Aslani. Gagliardini, despite being considered not exactly a person with the finest feet and the finest touch, he served a fantastic ball to Dzeko, who then gave it to Correa, who scored. So I have to say, solid performance by Gagliardini, doing just what he needs to do, which is give minutes to the really important players for them to rest and be ready for the next games, when the games already are kind of going in the right direction. Dzeko, very good. I'm very, very hopeful about Dzeko's season, because if we use him properly, which means that a 36 years old player needs to be used like 15-20 minutes a game, not as a starting, not in the starting lineup all the time like it happened last year. If we use him properly, he can be lethal, because, you know, in terms of movements and vision, he's second to none. Correa, okay, he didn't play much, but at least he scored and he showed some energy, because what we were missing from Correa last year is energy, this kind of drive that you can see in Barella, for example. You know, Correa is like light years away from that, and we need that. If you add to Correa this drive, then he becomes a great weapon. And let's finish up with Inzaghi. Nothing to say. Great approach to the game, great substitutions, great way of handling the challengers of the game, because as we mentioned, it was a very rigid game, very stiff, and with Dumfries and Di Marco he was able to create a lot of opportunities, and so his strategy proved to be perfect. And that's it. So it was a fantastic match. Now we're gonna have Lazio Inter on Friday, and the good thing is that we get there with the maximum number of points that we could have gained so far. So Forza Inter as always, and thanks. See you next time.